Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hi, everybody. Hello, Vicky. Hi, everybody. The soapy situation. Ooh, I like that. Hey, Anna. Hi, Ty. Linda. If anybody caught my scope last week, you know why this opening shot is happening. Hi, Pearl. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I had to double check that, Anna. Hey, Tracy. Hi, Jay. Of course, this is the one day Jay does show up. Hey, Nicole. So for any of you that were here last week, I am, not today, but I'm doing 3 gigs in Boston, Valentine's Day weekend. Thank you. So Artie Magoo and Nicole and Angela, hey Kim, were in here last week. And basically Artie and Angela were daring me, not daring me, but they wanted to see me do the paper dolls, because I was like, you know what, I just do not have this skill set. I am not a fine artist. And they're like, come on. And then prior to that, we had talked about that I sang and that I was going up to Boston and I had my Doc Martens, and Angela said, okay, then you have to do the paper dolls with the Doc Martens. So that's what this opening shot is all about. No singing today. No, but I got the paper dolls and I did them on paper and my Doc Martens. And I'm actually going to have my friend scope from one of the gigs in Boston. But that won't be till February 13th. Oh, be quiet, Jay. Thank you. New doll coming? What does that mean? Okay, so I think because I put BizScope in here, I'm getting trolls, and I never get trolls. So go ahead and block the trolls. Okay, so go ahead and invite your followers, please. And hello to all your replay viewers. And also, I never ask, but I'm going to ask now. Please give me some hearts. Hearts. We love those. And today I did snowflakes. Ooh, love teal, love teal. Good morning. Hi, Jess. Good morning, everybody. All right, I'll get you off this. I got to move you, though. Hold on. Got to move you off the one stand. I'll move you on the other stand. Flip you around. Okay. Because I had to show you. I did the paper dolls, which I posted, but I promised I would do it with the Doc Martens. See, I did it. I stand by my words. All right, everybody. Did y'all invite people? Thank you. Oh, thank you. You like those cakes, Jay? Okay, so today's scope, because someone mentioned it last week at the end when I was asking for input as to what you would like to talk about. The idea was, how do you manage? Yeah, you know what I think I'd like, instead of the dolls, I would like to do the dresses and the hats. Like those, I just liked those better. Am I zoomed in? I don't want to be zoomed in. Nope, I'm not. Okay. Anyway, had my hair done yesterday, which is why it's straight. Hate it like this, but anyway. So I'm going to do with a doll for a whole set. Maybe. So the topic is, how do you manage family and your home-based business? Okay. You're welcome. And so since I've been doing it for 13 years, I'm going to start at the beginning because, you know, some of you are starting. Some of you, I do this full time. I know some of you do this part time. And some of this scope will apply to you, like how I organize everything. But the parts about when to work and when to not are not going to help you because you work a full-time job and you do this on your off hours, right? So, so the first part of the scope, we're going to talk. I've got a whole list of stuff and references for you guys. And then the second part, I'll give you a tour of how I have my current home set up. maybe give you some ideas about that. So I just want to start from the beginning. I know a lot of you have heard this before, but this is important because I started, so we have to be, did you see the picture? No, look. This is for you, Angela and Artie. My paper dolls and my Doc Martens. Just for you, baby. Good morning, Lori. I brought 2 pairs down, but oh, thanks. I always keep my promises. So the beginning of my story. Hello, Miss Chantrell. That needs to be on a cookie. What, my Doc Marten with the paper dolls? That's kind of weird. Hey, Claudia. And plaid. I am, because I'm doing all 3 gigs, I am going to go get a plaid shirt. Yeah, these were cool. They were on sale because they're copper. I don't know if you can see it, but some of it's rubbing off, but I like that even better. But then I haven't bought black ones because I'm not in that mode anymore, so I just bought these brown ones. It's all about the soul, though. It's all about the soul. All right, enough about Doc Martens. Hi, Tina. Okay, so my story, my name is Lauren. Your dress is... Actually, it's just a shirt, but no, I want like grunge plaid, like a giant man shirt that I'm going to wear over a dress. That's my deal. Okay. Hi, Bee's Knees Cakes. I like that. Okay. So in the beginning, I was an interior architect, which means what? It means I, went to school and practiced space planning, for 16 years, I guess it was. So my forte is organization and having a place for everything. And so I know for a lot of you, that's a real struggle. But for me, that kind of made setting up my business a lot easier. So I started my business. My daughter was born and I turned 39 2 days later. I quit my job because I wasn't going to commute into Philadelphia every day. And I decided, hello, Sweet Treats 35. About a year and a half, I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. But the problem was the whole time we were living in this area, I was never home. I always commuted into the city, which was like a 7 to 7 sort of situation. So I never met anybody in my area. So I was home alone with a child, tried to keep myself busy, and finally after a year and a half I was going insane because I don't know about you guys, but I've been working since I was 14 and I could never not contribute monetarily. It just was feeling so weird. It was the first time I ever not worked and had, well, my husband supported me. So not only was there that stress, but I also found a lot of my personal you're my sugar mother. My personal self-worth was tied to my work, which was very important work at the time. But now I had nothing except raising my daughter. And a lot of people said, well, you're raising a child. That's work. And it's like, yes, it is. But I needed to be validated. So that's why I started my business. Okay. And I started it like all of you. Like I sat and I talked to my husband for about 6 months and I said, what can I do? I first started thinking about being a restaurant critic and writing for local papers. But where I live, there's just not a lot of good restaurants around. So, okay, there goes that idea. Then I thought about catering because I cook. I've cooked in restaurants. I've cooked in 4-star restaurants. I've taken, numerous courses over the years. No, I did not go to culinary school. I'm pretty much self-taught, but have been cooking since I was a child because of my mom. So I thought catering. I'm so glad I didn't do it, but in Pennsylvania, you are not allowed to cater out of your home. You have to have a whole separate building and so on and so forth. So it's like, okay, well, that's not an option. Well, what about baking? And so I was doing this Mommy and Me class. And again, we don't have family here. We had some friends, but no family who would be like, I would be baking for all the time. Like a lot of you guys, you bake for your family, you bake for your friends. And then someone mentioned, you should start a business and you kind of take it from there. I didn't have that here. So I kind of had to just figure it out on my own. So I was at a Mommy and Me class. My daughter was a year and a half, and I was talking to this woman about some ideas I had. And she said, you know what? I would be your first customer because she's did these home parties or something. And again, there's no good bakeries here. So she was excited. I went home that night. I banged out a menu. I gave it to her. She was my first customer. And I did all kinds of things I don't even do anymore, like cheesecakes, which are illegal. And of course, I wasn't legal then either. And also with my daughter, it was really hard. I didn't start a business, okay? Because with my daughter and I was the sole caregiver, when was I going to do anything? At night? Hell no, I was exhausted. So about 2 years into just, word of mouth and telling people, hey, and other friends now ordering for their kids. Cheesecakes are illegal in Pennsylvania because they have to be held at a certain temp. Oh my goodness. So they have to be held at a certain temp, which falls under the Department of Health, and you can't run that out of your house. Also, same applies for custard pies and stuff like that here. So I don't know about Texas. I think they are illegal in Texas. Stable things, only cottage. Oh yeah, we don't shelf stable like I do. I mean, I do cakes with a Swiss meringue buttercream here. That's not a problem. But that's, cheesecakes when you're baking eggs and cheese and all that kind of stuff. It's really important. And custard, it's the same thing. You're dealing with eggs. So you have to know about food safety and what temperature you need to cook it at. So anyway, so after a couple years, I was like, I'm going to look into, and I joined Cake Central. I found Cake Central because remember, this was 13 years ago. There was no Facebook. There was no Instagram. There was no all of these sharing sites. There weren't a lot of websites, but Cake Central existed. And Cake Central, this was before the magazine. This was before anything. And it was my place to go and ask questions. And there were all kinds of business things. But it was amazing. I was on there all the time. And I researched the heck out of everything. So I decided to get a free when it was great. Now it's just so overrun, and you have people running through and just saying, great, beautiful, which happens on Cakes Decor too. And I don't like that. I don't want to compliment. Thanks, Lori. Yeah, if anybody's asking questions, because I'm trying to stay on track. If anybody's asking questions and you can answer, please do. So I decided to get a free website. I don't even remember the name of the thing back then, but it was like Wix, something like that, where you can set something up for free. Free web, that's what it was. Yeah, it did. So free web, that's what it was called. And I did just a one-page free website. And on Cake Central, I learned, because this is where I also learned about if you are doing it illegal and you are found out. They were talking about a woman who was fined $15,000. And this was, 10, 11 years ago. So that's why I always harp on be legal or be careful. So what they said was, if you have a website, just don't list any prices. Don't make it look like you're selling anything. Kind of make it look like a portfolio or just like a list of cakes and stuff like that. So that what I did that for was, if someone asked me, well, what do you offer? I can say, hey, I have this website. You can go check it out and then give me a call and I'll tell you how much stuff. Well, there weren't blogs really back then either. So these are the dark ages, I guess. We did have the internet, thank God. I don't know how else I would have done it, but I did buy a book on home-based catering or whatever, and I got some ideas to start my contracts and stuff from there. So once my daughter started kindergarten, which luckily was full-time here, I decided, yep, I'm going to do it. I got legal. I wrote my first real website via GoDaddy. I've been with them. How long have I been legal? Okay, so Bella started kindergarten when she was 5. So 2006 is when I got legal. I did all my research, all my applications, everything to figure out how to get legal here. Do you or anyone have an invoice app? I do not have an invoice app. I made my own Excel spreadsheet. Hey, Sydney. I made my own Excel spreadsheet, but Jay got me hooked on QuickBooks, and now I invoice through there. What's considered legal, look on forager.com. and check where you live and see what it says about what it means to be legal where you live. I use Square, but I don't use it for that because QuickBooks is my checkbook. So if I can do my invoicing through there, I take Square and Square dumps right into it. I don't use Square for invoices now. So what's expensive? QuickBooks, it's $17 a month for QuickBooks. That's it. That's all I have to pay. I didn't have to pay anything else. So Forrager, Forrager. Cake Boss also does invoices. I started with Cake Boss when it first started. I'm not sure they had invoices back then, which is why I started on Excel. But Cake Boss, I'm really moving away from. I just paid I think it was a $15 annual fee because I use it for pricing, to figure out pricing, but I don't use it for anything else anymore because I use QuickBooks now. So when my daughter started going to school full time, I got legal, I got inspected, I did everything. Oh yes, I'm still in business now, legally. 13 years in December. That was the first order with that woman. So, what was I saying? So my daughter was in school, put her on the bus at like 8:30 in the morning, and she would come home at 4 o'clock. That's when I worked. That's when I went shopping. That's when I did my business. That's when I baked, was when she wasn't home. Because when she was home, I couldn't get anything done. And I'm sure you all can understand that. And my whole purpose of quitting my other job was to be a stay-at-home mom. So I wasn't my business was never at that point going to be more important. Well, I don't mean ever. It's still not more important than my daughter. So that's me. Again, I'm specifically talking about me who does this full time. For you guys that do this at night and the weekends, this doesn't really apply to you. So this is all about how to juggle home and your family and your business from home, because it is a unique thing and it's nothing you'll ever learn in school. So what happened in my old house, I had a very small kitchen, and so I had to make the best use of every square inch that I could. So I kept all my cake pans and stuff like that in the basement. I found all these cheap shelves, either free, Trash Days, Target, Craigslist, stuff like that. And I got as many shelves that I could, and I just lined the walls with shelves so I can put all my inedible stuff in the basement. And as you'll see on the tour later, I still use my basement because I don't know anybody that has enough room in their house for all their stuff. And, for those, also, I do everything desserts. I always started everything desserts. So I did cookies and cakes and pies and other sorts of desserts. So I needed a lot of stuff. Okay. And then in the old house also, the laundry room was a giant laundry room, and that was right off the kitchen. So I kept stuff in there. I also built shelves. See how I have those two shelves? There's no other shelves in here because in this place, I don't need the space. In my old house, I had shelves every place I could put them, whether they be like the metal racks or actual shelves on the wall, because when you are doing work in your home, especially if you live in an apartment, I am fortunate I have a full-size house. This house is even bigger than my last house. But if you just have an apartment and you're like, how am I going to do this? Shelves, shelves above your cabinets, shelves above every surface. And they make, these are nice shelves. They're not the ones with the things. You can get nice shelves, or you can buy cabinets. You can buy, in our old house, because our kitchen was so small, eventually we redid the kitchen, and I designed it based on my business. So it was a lot bigger and a lot more cabinets. But we did all the demo work, and we pulled off all the old cabinetry, and all the wall hung cabinets I hung in the laundry room. So I now had storage that had doors on it. You can find this stuff on Craigslist, old construction stuff, people who don't want to pay to trash stuff, cabinets, old cabinets. Think about it. You can hang them on your walls just like they do in a kitchen. whether it be a storage area, if you have a basement, even in cinder block, you can hang them in cinder block. You just got to get really creative when you work from home and you're in such a business where you have so much stuff. And when you see how much stuff I have, and I have been going through and getting rid of stuff, it's mind blowing how it's stuff. But here, this was in this house, this was the dining room, which it's square and it's small, and I could only put a round table in here. I was like, no, this is going to be my office. And it had a formal living room, which we never use. There's only 3 of us here. The formal living room was huge. So I turned that into the dining room, which is also my tasting space. And I'll show you that too. Free cycle. Absolutely. Oh my God. Free cycle is so big. That's where I got rid of so much of my stuff in the past when we were moving and so on and so forth. Free cycle is in every state, county, everything. It's freecycle.org. You can put up there, hey, I'm looking for old cabinets, or you can browse through. Free cycle is where I got my first refrigerator. You have got to have a separate refrigerator, okay, from your family refrigerator. The reason why, and I'm saying you have to, it's not because of the law, it's because of your refrigerator stinks. Your refrigerator is onions and garlic and veggies and leftovers and those Chinese leftovers and everything else. And you're putting a customer's cake in there? No. One of the very first things I did was I looked on FreeCycle, I drove 45 minutes and I got myself a refrigerator and I put it in the garage. And you'll see on the tour, I still have them in the garage. And excellent. Got to have a separate fridge. And I'll tell you what, the people who lived here left behind their fridge. So I now have 2 separate fridges. One, which is always on because like I use the freezer for the family stuff, but the other fridge, I only plug in when I need it. Like if I'm doing a huge cupcake wedding or if I have a lot of orders that won't fit in the one fridge, I just keep it unplugged so it doesn't cost me anything. Yeah, exactly. I take out all the insides because I don't need them in the spare one. And there were times where I had to rent an extra refrigerator. So that's always another option too. Rent a center. Okay. It was averaged like once a year or something like that, where and back in the old house, I only had 1 fridge. So I would run out of space. And also it was a side by side. I strongly recommend, if you're going to get an extra fridge, is just get a single door, because in a single door you can fit a half sheet cake, you can fit your half sheet boxes with your cupcakes and everything else. With the side by side, you cannot fit that stuff as easily and you can't fit as much. So I highly recommend your first extra fridge being a single door fridge. And again, FreeCycle, okay. Make use of it, or Craigslist. Craigslist is my last resort because I still got to pay for it. I was all about the free because, again, I wasn't working. And so I felt guilty. And it's not like we were rich. Like, we survived on my husband's salary, but my first year, I had to use our family money to buy everything, to buy my cake pans and buy just the basics. Luckily, I already had a mixer. I already had a food processor because, again, I cooked, so I had all that stuff. But there were things I had to buy. And so all of my cake pans I got on eBay. This was back 13 years ago when eBay was like the perfect yard sale. You could get stuff for it was next to nothing. So that's where basically all that stuff came from, was eBay. FreeCycle for the fridge. I was just really frugal. I had to count my pennies. I didn't have a ton of money to buy this stuff. So I kept that extra fridge in the garage. And then when we redid our kitchen, I kept my old fridge and I put it in the laundry room where all my other storage stuff was. So now I had 2 fridges again, only plugging in the one. The next big piece of equipment I got was a freezer. We had one of those chest freezers. Doesn't work because it's like you never find anything. So I invested and bought a stand-up freezer at a scratch and dent sale. And I still have it. I probably bought it 10 years ago and I still have it. Yeah, for me, it was just dorm fridge isn't big enough for me. It depends on the amount of your business, how much stuff you need. Like for me, because I did everything desserts, I always have to have a ton of butter and a ton of eggs. I used to buy eggs by the case from an Amish farmer when I was really busy. That's been a long time, but I needed a place to put those, and a dorm fridge wasn't going to do it. Yard sale, perfect, $50. Shelves there too, absolutely. You look for all that. You don't need to buy this stuff new. And this is for when you're starting up, okay? If you've been in business a long time and you're frustrated, maybe these tips will help you too. So when we redid that kitchen, it helped a lot because I all of a sudden had a lot more space. I also organized it so that I spent as less time as possible. You know, the whole triangle, being an interior architect, it's like there's this way to design a kitchen where it's the least amount of steps to get from fridge, sink, stove, and work area. Okay, so in most cases, your kitchens are already really set up like that if you see it that way. In my state, yeah, Goodwill too, absolutely. In my state, I found these rolling storage bins, which I use for flour and sugar, and I got these on eBay. You will never find these again. Okay, this was on eBay about 10 years ago. And I think I got them for $40 a piece. I got 2 of them, and it cost more to ship. Now, I can't find these under $100 anymore, but I'll tell you, it makes a ginormous difference because, you know, 50-pound bags of flour and sugar take up space, and to have to keep it open and in there, you know, this works so much better. I know Candy Pittman has the same setup at her house. So it's a process of trying to figure out what your space is. Like, go home tonight, or if you're home today, take a look at your kitchen space. If it works for you, fantastic. If it doesn't, think about ways you can change it. Got great ones at a pet. Oh, for dog food. That makes sense. Okay, so juggling family and home. On my daughter's days off from school, I did not schedule any work. Again, I couldn't work when she was home until she was at least 10. Okay, so I always worked during the day, and if I had to work at night, it was so rare because I just really scheduled my time, and that comes with, I did a scope a while back, you can find on catch.me, Bella's_desserts. It's all about electronically organizing down to the task. So when I get an order, I break it down so I know, oh, my daughter has this day off. Well, not anymore, she's 14, but my daughter had this day off. I can't work on that day, so you schedule accordingly. Okay, that's all about the juggle. Family, you know, vacations. Your kids have off from school. Oh crap! Now what do? Do you switch everything around so that you're going to work at night that week, or you know, again, we're doing this to be a stay-at-home mom for the most part. Most of us are, I assume. Give me some hearts if that's the truth, because most of the people I meet, that's why they're doing it. So if you're a stay-at-home mom and you're doing this, you know, your priority are your kids. Of course, there might be those times if, you know, that it's unavoidable. Don't do it when they're little. Either that or hire a babysitter for the day or a mother's helper. I got really sick about 10 years ago. My daughter was 3. I was bedridden, basically. I had to hire a mother's helper. It was inexpensive, and she ended up helping me later on in business when I was very busy. I taught her how to pipe and stuff like that. So hire a mother's helper or your babysitter, see if they're available during the day, or a neighbor or a friend. You don't want to constantly be yelling at your kids, because you will. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's great. Yeah. You know, find what works. But again, their attention level is very small. So if you can keep them busy for half-hour increments, you're lucky when they're little. So just keep that in mind. You're doing this, you know, and I've talked about this before, when people are scoping and they're nasty with their kids, like, you know, leave me alone, I'm periscoping or whatever. It's like, you're losing the point. Go get a full-time job, because if you're doing this, were you all self-taught? All of my baking and cooking is completely self-taught. The only cooking class I took was, we were in Paris and they had a 1-day French tart class at the Cordon Bleu, and I wanted to take a class at the Cordon Bleu, so I took it on French tarts, and that's back. I don't offer them anymore. Am I freezing up or delayed or anything? Because it's looking weird on my end. But the decorating classes, the first thing I did, because this woman who was my first customer said, do you do birthday cakes? And I didn't know it is. Is it bad? Because I'll go out and come back. I hate to do that. It is. Okay. Should I go back? Should I leave and come back? I don't want to lose y'all. It's okay. Yes, delayed. Delayed for me. It's fine. Okay, good. All right. Yeah, it's not like I'm showing you how to decorate. Okay. I guess don't watch. Maybe you can just listen. It drives me nuts. So, okay, you can hear me. Great. My decorating classes. So when she asked me about birthday cakes, I had no idea how to pipe. So at our local night school, it was a 6-week cake decorating class. It was basically a Wilton sort of course, but I got my girlfriend with me. I got my girlfriend to go with me, and it was 6 weeks, and it was fun, and it was basic. You know, in hindsight, it's like, I guess I learned enough to start, but if I look at it was so bad. Practice makes perfect with piping. Piping is a really, really hard skill to learn. Writing is the worst. And for me, I started using my Pico or I use tappets because I'm terrible at it. So those were and I took a 3-day course in fondant with Colette Peters. I took a week-long course again on piping. This was about 5 years ago with Toba Garrett in New York at ICE. I took how to make a sugar rose with Lori Blethen of Wildflowers in New Jersey. I don't think they're in business anymore, but you know, this was before Craftsy. Okay. So, speaking of Craftsy, if you have a small house where you think you don't have any room, Kara and Dretta did this amazing class on Craftsy called Industry Secrets for the Savvy Decorator. Okay. And if you've ever seen her periscopes, she doesn't have a lot of space. But what's great about this scope, it's a fabulous scope for beginners. It's all about being, you know, there are tips and tricks on decorating, but a lot of it is about, you know, business. But she has this whole segment, how to set up your kitchen efficiently with the kind of space you have. So I highly recommend that. It's usually $19.99. You'll gather a lot of information from that. One of those, how to organize a small space. Okay, so I got that about the kids, right? Business hours. I think I talk about this on every single scope. What's the name again? It's on Craftsy. Her name is Kara, K-A-R-A, Andretta, and the name of the class is Industry Secrets for the Savvy Decorator. Okay. I don't really buy much from Craftsy anymore, but I did buy that one. Business hours. I'm going to talk about it again because, again, you can't juggle home and your business if you don't have business hours. I was totally guilty of that for many, many years. And we talked about this last week. And you cakes on the side. Well, see, this isn't really about, I can't talk about that specific thing. And that's what I was saying is I know a lot of you have full-time jobs and you do this on the side. I can't speak to how you should do it because I never have. So if there's anybody in here in the same boat, you can share on that or maybe do a scope on that. If there's anybody in here that does this part-time and has a full-time job, I know Sabrina Monroe does, kind of maybe you do a scope on how you do it to help those, you know, in here that are like that. So business hours, again, really important if you're full-time. If you're a full-time baker is stop. I was answering my phone 7 days a week whenever it rang. He comes to me with customers and no. You work nights full time, so you have to do this during the day, but you got to sleep too. So my business hours are 9 to 6. If on my caller ID, if I don't recognize the number, I don't answer the phone. My voicemail, even though it's my personal phone too, my voicemail is my business voicemail. It says everything about my business hours, that we will get back to you. Because it's not even after business hours. There's sometimes during the day where my hands are, you know, full of buttercream because I'm decorating a cake. So like I mentioned in the past, what I do is if they call you after your business hours, do not answer the phone, because you really don't want to talk to anybody at that time of night, I'm telling you, because, you know, you got your family. Good. Yay. Glad. Yeah, it'll save your life. It'll save your marriage. It'll save your sanity. It'll save everything. Just let it go to voicemail. You can listen to your voicemail. You could check your emails. It's all up to you. But just check in the morning to see who called and call them back in the morning. Organization, again, my scope on on Catch.me about electronically organizing via Google or Outlook. Google being free, Outlook not. Hello. I don't think you want to talk about being a home-based baker. So organization is huge. And because of my ADD, if I am not organized, and that means on my computer with my tasks and my calendar, or where my stuff is, if I can't find my stuff, it drives me insane because I know someone touched it. Okay, so in my state, and this gets me to, in my state, you have to keep all of your business stuff separate, meaning your spatulas, your measuring cups, your measuring spoons, your measuring bowls, all that stuff needs to be kept separate, as well as your dry goods. Needs to be kept separate from the family, okay? So I think since we moved here, it's finally kicked in, and my family, they still go in and will use a bowl. I have plenty of mixing bowls for them, don't get me wrong, but it was years of just like, don't use my stuff. Don't use my stuff. A, because they'll never clean it the way I need it cleaned, and they'll put it somewhere I don't know where it is and I can't find it, and it drives me insane. And B, not like the inspector's checking to see. I'm in Pennsylvania. It's not like the inspector's checking to see. But when I moved to this house, and my first inspector in my other house never even looked at any other space. We just sat in the dining room. This inspector wanted a tour of my kitchen to see that everything was kept separate. Again, that's organization. Yeah. Oh, no. My family, as far as like these bins of flour and sugar, I have sugar and flour for the family because I don't want their hands in here or anything else. Yeah, that's the good thing about the separate refrigerator too. Stuff like strawberries, butter, eggs, all of that, you keep in your separate refrigerator, and you make sure they know, do not touch this refrigerator. If there's something you need that might be in there, like did we run out of eggs or we ran out of butter, you ask me first before you go in there. Because also I have an inventory. I know what I have. I know when I have to go get butter and eggs. If my family went in there and took the last of my eggs and I go to on my baking day and they're not there, oh, you will feel my wrath. Okay, so it's a lot about communication with your family too. Don't be all bitchy about it, but just say, okay, so now that I'm all organized, I want to give you a tour of where my stuff is, and you're not allowed to use it. And if you need to use it, you need to ask me first, and say it nicely and say, please. Okay. So organization, key. My versus family, supplies, ingredients, separate bank account. Almost lost my mind with her and her friends. Oh my God. But again, that, you know, if stuff is not clearly marked as your business, and believe me, the kids will go, my daughter still goes and grabs powdered sugar to this day. So finally I was like, duh, I just bought them their own powdered sugar because the family doesn't really use it very much. So I bought it for their own. So now they know where their flour and their sugar and their powdered sugar is, okay? And then they wanted vanilla, and they went and they used my pure Nielsen and Massey vanilla. Oh, hell no! They can use the artificial stuff. So I bought a bottle of artificial vanilla for them, okay? You getting how this is going? The more organized you are and the more that your family is in the know, the less frustrated you're going to become and the less bitchy you're going to become, okay? So next thing is a separate bank account. You've got to get a separate bank account. Okay. I didn't have one for years either. But you need, if you are running a legitimate business and you are paying your taxes, you need a separate bank account. Yeah, no, not the pure, right? Or the Belgian chocolate. Hell no, you could use Nestle's chips. You know what I mean? Oh my God, it takes me, it just, and they know it pisses me off. And still after 13 years, you're like, what's the big deal? It's like, are you kidding me? Okay. I do not have an EIN number. I am a sole proprietor and I don't have any employees. So my social security number is my business number. I'm still thinking about becoming an LLC. I'm doing more research on it. And at that point, I do have to get an EIN. But unless if all of these wedding things come in line and I get that busy, I'm definitely going to do an LLC. So a separate bank account. Open a separate, it doesn't have to, I opened a business account, okay? And it was a DBA. It said, it was Lauren Cortese, DBA, Bella's Desserts. Okay. Want to open a biz account. Well, my EIN was the same. They said EIN or social security number. So I was at DMB first, but yeah, I joined Restaurant Depot with my social security number. They didn't need an EIN number. CK Products. Did I? I don't think I still don't. Probably because, because you're an LLC. Yeah, but when you're an LLC, you get an EIN number, so then it's not, So separate bank account. Get a separate business account that has no fees. You want an account that doesn't have any fees because your ebb and flow of money, like I know for mine, there were times where there was like $20 and my accountant says it was for bank. Okay. I guess it depends on the bank. I didn't have one, didn't need one. Business license, which I do have a business license. So, oh, you're welcome. So you want to get your own separate checks, your own separate debit card, and just keep your money separate. And you can write off your fees, but the problem is if you have very low balances at any time, you're going to overdraft you're going to bounce when they go to take the fees out. And believe me, there have been times, it's feast or famine for me. As you all know, or most of you know, since I hired Jay in April, I now have money in the bank. But in the past, it was like, and I paid for my own car. My car, I finished paying in March, but that money came out of my business account. So that was $350. And every month I was like, oh my God, I got to do the hustle. I got to get, make sure there's at least $350 in there to pay my car loan. So thankfully that's done now. But it's good for tax purposes. It's good for record keeping. It's your money. And a savings account is good too if you pay your tax. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I go through Capital One. Okay. It's all online. I can't deposit cash. I can only deposit checks, but I can deposit checks from my phone and there's absolutely no fees. And actually it's interest bearing. They gave me a debit card so I could just go get, if I needed money out of it, I could use my debit card. I can, it works like a regular bank. It's just online. But the good thing is it has interest. I have business insurance through RLI. That's really important. I have an accountant and this year the money I have to pay is killing me. Okay, so I highly recommend you get an accountant because when I used to do it myself, and it was just a Schedule C that you added on to your other things, your regular tax returns as a sole proprietor. Now, as an LLC, I don't know how it worked. Oh, I think it's just a Schedule C, Tracy, you told me. So my husband, when we built our other house, all of a sudden, when you buy a house, there's so many other taxes involved. Now you're doing an itemized deduction. I used to do the easy form until we built our house. Hello, in 1999. So I was like, okay, I can figure this out. And then my business started. Now I started paying taxes even before it was legal. Oh, no, I don't charge anything extra. It's all, I know my prices and I know, first of all, I don't pay taxes because I don't file separately. Okay. I never owe taxes. My business, I also don't make a lot of money. Hey, Ro, because when you are, and again, there's another scope on Catch Me about overhead and tax write-offs. when you start writing, doing your taxes and you add up, just your regular business stuff, but, your home costs, your car costs, all the other costs. And again, I didn't know any of this until I hired my accountant. She happens to be a friend and we barter, so I don't have to pay her. So she does, because we have local taxes, state taxes, and federal taxes. So she does it all for me. I just have to fill out the worksheets, which I'm doing right now. But your utilities, everything. That scope I did on tax write-offs, you all need to go see it if you haven't seen it already, because you'd be amazed at what you can write off. And it explains to you how to figure out your overhead. Very succinctly, it has to do with your square footage. I actually, you do your square footage of your whole house, and then you measure, like when we moved here, and even in the old house. I measure every square footage that I use for business, every square inch that I use for business. And so whatever that percentage is a tax write-off. So unless you're making like, $20,000 a year, $15,000, $20,000 a year or more, you probably won't have a profit, which last year was the first year I did have a profit. I'm still not sure why, but because it's just a Schedule C, it's attached to my husband's. With his, we take enough out of his paycheck so that what happens is when you do run at a loss, it's a deduction on your family's taxes. So if we do have to pay taxes, it's, has to do with my husband's, like if he got a bonus or something. So I don't pay the only quarterly, I used to pay quarterly state taxes, not state taxes, use tax, which is basically, if you notice Amazon now and eBay, they're charging you sales tax. In the past, you would buy stuff on websites and whatever, and they didn't charge you sales tax. State of Pennsylvania wants you to pay 6%, which is what our sales tax is. So quarterly, I would have to add up what I didn't pay tax on and send them a check. Now they've only made it, I have to do it twice a year. And from what I understand, it's voluntary, but I just don't want to get in trouble. So I just do it. And it's usually like $10. You absolutely count the square footage of your kitchen. Absolutely. You count the square footage of your kitchen. Okay. It doesn't matter if it's not solely used. Again, your square footage is a percentage of your whole house square footage, which includes the kitchen. So in my case, it's 10%. So 10% of everything having to do with this house, mortgage, utilities, repairs, 10% is a write-off for my business. Okay. So when you add that on to all your supplies, your groceries, everything you spent on your business, you don't want to have to pay taxes is the bottom line. So having an accountant helps you find every single tax write-off. So I highly recommend it. So no, paying taxes doesn't kill me because I don't have to. And again, this all goes with getting business savvy. What can you do to get the biggest bang for your buck and to hold on to your money? Okay. And a large part of that has to do with knowing how to price. Okay. So when someone asks me if I charge for, credit card fees or taxes or whatever, no, because I price correctly. Okay. I figure in my overhead, I figure in everything else so that I just don't charge them. It's first of all, it's illegal to charge people your credit card fees. And if you say convenience fee or whatever, I don't even think that's legal either. Okay, the last thing before the tour is have a shared calendar. Okay, this has saved my marriage. That's a loss at tax time, right? It's a loss at tax time, yes. And that loss becomes a deduction off my family because I do a Schedule C. I don't have a separate business because I'm a sole proprietor. And if I become, Tracy, do you file a Schedule C, right? You don't file your own separate business taxes. That's a different story. And I can't speak to that because I don't do it. So the last thing I'm going to say is have a shared calendar. Okay. So I use Outlook for me. Yes. Okay. So wait, yes, you do a Schedule C. Okay. Sorry. what I do, Google has a calendar, right? And you can share that Google Calendar with anybody. I share it with my husband and I share it with my daughter. Okay, so my daughter's 14, she's old enough. If she wants to make plans, or even my husband, said, I looked on the calendar and I see that this week is open because I need to have someone down for a business meeting. Okay, so what that does, it saves sanity. It's communication, because communication with your family is the be all end all at running your business from home. They have to know what's going on. Okay. And sharing a calendar is the easiest way to communicate. So I just export my Outlook calendar to Google. And even though it has all my tasks, like I'm baking this day, whatever, not that they care about that, but it also has all of our family events, vacations, when I'm traveling, whatever. So first look before they make any plans, because I'm the bookkeeper here. I'm the calendar keeper. My husband and daughter are absolutely clueless. Now they have no more excuses. They just look at the calendar, see if there's something going on, or if I'm not in town, or if daddy's not in town, or if I have a wedding at, 4:00 and I have a delivery at 4:00, they know, I'm not home at that time. So a shared calendar is another great tool in your tool belt for keeping things sane at home. Okay, so that was a lot of stuff. So do you have any questions before we start the tour? There's still 49 people. That's fabulous. Thank you for my hearts and snowflakes. You're welcome. You're welcome. Does anybody have any questions that I didn't cover? Taxes are very confusing, which is why I got the accountant. I'm not a money person, and it is very confusing. Anywhere I can go for more info. You can look at my catch.me/Bellas_desserts, and there is a tax write-off scope and an overhead scope. Yeah, we covered a lot of stuff already, Karen. Well, thank you very much. My porch, and I am on the 3rd floor. Well, first you need to see if it's structurally able to hold a fridge. And I don't know if I'd put a fridge outside in the elements. Had her walk-in outside. A walk-in is different because it's completely insulated. It's its own room. Okay, all my scopes are caught on catch.me. Hold on, let me see. So all of my scopes are caught here on catch.me/Bellas_desserts. And you'll see all my business scopes are up there for, all of the stuff I talked about today, the organization, the calendars, the tax write-offs, how to figure out your overhead. Contract stuff, which, by the way, my contracts are basically permanently available at this point. You're welcome. You're welcome. So ready for the tour? Let's do the tour. I hope I have enough. Battery. Okay, I'm going to flip you around. So I'm going to start in my cake room first. Now, in my old house, we had a dining room. And, we had a dining table and chairs and everything else. And so the only space I used was against the wall. I had my desk, I had my file cabinet, and I had my board, basically, where I have all my orders. Okay. So I just had that little slice to do my business because our other house was smaller. Okay. And, but the dining room where this is where I did my tastings. Okay. So now that I have this luxurious cake room, I bought this at the old house, and I kept it in the dining room. Whenever we had dinner parties, believe me, it was such a pain in the butt because I had to move all this stuff out into the laundry room. For those of you that are contemplating getting a speed rack, I highly, highly recommend getting a full-size speed rack, and I'll tell you why. This is an amazing space saver, and look at how much space there is to keep stuff in and to store stuff. Like on the floor, I have my torch. There I keep my wok because I don't have space. I have my cake boards that I made. Even the days that I'm baking, I also store all my sheet pans up here, and on the top I store my parchment paper. Yeah, half-size ones don't, are great, but they don't help you in storage because, especially for people that do cookies and stuff like, or, hundreds of pieces, you're maxed out. This full-size one, I'm never maxed out. Only when I'm doing cupcakes am I using all that. But in the meantime, I have a place to store my, my sheet pans. I have a place to put stuff again. So again, it's all about making the most of the space you have. Okay, this dunnage rack, I think I got it. It was $50. I think it was Craigslist. I had to drive into Philly for it. I think he was a troll, so I blocked him. They charge so much for one of these at my local restaurant. How much are they normally? You mean the speed rack? The speed rack I got at a restaurant supply store, not Restaurant Depot. And I think in my old place, I moved it out of the dining room. So in this place, I never move it because this is my room, so I don't have to move it. And I just got this cover within the last year, and I love it because it keeps everything clean. Like I keep my, I always make my cake boards on Monday, so it stays clean in here because it has this plastic cover. So the speed rack, I want to say was like $75 at my local restaurant. You got to shop around for this stuff. Okay. Restaurant supply stores are amazing for inexpensive things. If you're going to buy it on Amazon or eBay, you're going to pay a lot more, especially for shipping. $400, holy moly. So this dunnage rack I got, like I said, at Craigslist. It's huge. I love it. I used to have it in my laundry room at the old place. Keeps everything off the floor. Because that's all part of restaurants, everything. They have to keep everything off the floor. Webstaurant charges a freaking fortune for shipping. So I don't ever use them anymore. But this is all my edibles. All my edibles are kept upstairs, okay? Luckily, my husband's a software guy, and these used to hold floppy disks, and he brought a bunch home. So I have all my sprinkles and sugars. Again, all about organization, right? Maximizing your space, okay? So these two boxes hold two different things. One's for flowers, one's for other stuff. The one on the top is the one I use most often. The one on the bottom, I don't want to have to run to the basement, but I don't use it that often. So again, organization. I can't, talk more about it. These bins, if you can find these kind of bins, mine are all mix and match because I've gotten them over the years and whatever. Like this one has all my spices in it. This one, I keep my powdered sugar in it because I buy more than one bag at a time, right? But look at how neat, and it keeps it compact, right? These are all my sugar flowers, ribbon, and then down there is all my chocolates and fondant and vanilla. This mixer I got. I can't remember if I was living at the old house, but it's on wheels. So I just roll it into my kitchen when I need to use it. Again, little old lady, baked out of her basement, gave up the business, found it on eBay, $600. I had to drive to Allentown, which is like an hour, but luckily we had like a RAV4. I was able to fit it, and I brought a friend, and it's awesome. I love it. Yeah, the woman had it on this cart. It didn't have wheels. I stopped at Home Depot. I picked up some of these wheels, and I want to trick it out though. I've had it for years, and I keep saying I want to trick this whole thing out. This was a great buy on my part. I did pay full price, but not full price. It was mega sale at Sears. And it was $60 when I bought it. It is the best thing, and it's constantly evolving. I just changed where things, but all my glitters, my dusts, my molds, all my colors, my dusts are here. And then it has this cool thing, which are all like my really little cutters. Yeah, $60 because it was on sale and I had a coupon and blah, 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 right? You can probably find these too, not free cycle, but probably Craigslist. These kind of cutters. each drawer I have a label on. Oh yeah, Canada, absolutely. These have become, I'm trying not to have them become junk drawers, but it's just miscellaneous stuff and it drives me crazy, and these are the bigger, things. Then, after watching Andrea scope on her cutters, and she used these racks that she got at Michael's, I bought one that's taller and is in the basement, and I just bought this one. Where did I buy that? Oh, where did I buy this? This was Michael's. On sale, of course. I think it was $40. And this is where I keep all my cookie cutters, because now that I'm doing cookies, and also I had these before because I did them in fondant, and oh, that's Sears. It's a Sears Craftsman, but I think there's other places that make. I know Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight, if you have those around there, Harbor Freight is so cheap for this kind of stuff, and I know they carry these kind of things. So those are cookie cutters. Then this is our old kitchen table. So when we moved here, it's now mine. And I have my bins underneath, and I have my, and I have my cake mixes. Then I had this, sorry, I'm just going to move. Sorry, making you busy. Sorry. Okay, so I had this old bookshelf. I've had it forever. And so I keep my turntables up top. All my binders with my recipes, the few cookbooks I've kept. Believe me, that's a few compared to what I used to have. But down below, what's really nice, again, maximizing my space, I keep my cupcake holders, my little things of fondant, everything. Like every square inch of storage space is so important. Okay, so that's this room. So let's go into my dining room, which is also my tasting area. You will see there's also on Catch.me, there's a scope about how I did my tastings. So this is my dining room, and basically we never have dinner parties anymore, just the way it is. So I leave these cakes out, and I just had a tasting this weekend. And this doesn't have to be here. I just, I have my dummies stored in the basement, but I thought, hey, that would be kind of cool, for people walking in for, wedding tastings. And then I could, if we're talking about the different sizes, I can pull off the different dummy sizes to show them this is what your cake's going to look like. But I have all these framed pictures of different cakes I've done. And I just kind of put them around the room. I take these cakes and I put them on the table. I'm doing dummy wedding cakes for a little mini collection, so they're covered and ready to go. But this is also my pickup area. So tastings and pickup. So when people come to pick up, I have everything here, my cake care card, cake cutting guide, my contract, business cards. So see, you just, when anybody's coming to your home, clean it. That's all I got to say. Make sure there's no kids' toys around, anything like that. All right, I'm going to take you into the kitchen. Okay, so that's my space. I claimed it as soon as we moved in. So my mixer, obviously, this is mostly where I do my work stuff. In my old house, before we redid the kitchen, I stored everything in here, which we used as an island, and which I still use as an island. And I still store some stuff under here. But the way I have it set up, because again, I have to keep it separate. So this is my baking cabinet. And then, all my kind of conversion stuff I have on the inside. I have my big thing of plastic and spatulas. This is my baking utensil drawer. These things were such a lifesaver to put these little shelf drawer organizers in. It just keeps things neater, so it's not a junk drawer. Okay. A suggestion is, if you don't have a spare drawer, is everybody has a junk drawer, right? Clean it out and make it your baking utensil drawer. Here and this is similar to how I designed my other kitchen, this is where I keep all my bowls. This is the stuff that needs to stay separate from the family. Measuring cups, bowls, all that kind of stuff. And so here I'm using two cabinets and one drawer. I understand not everybody has that, but something like this, a little cabinet that you can buy, or even like that rolling rack I had to keep your stuff out. And that's it. That's all my stuff in the kitchen. That's the stove, obviously, sink and dishwasher. And now I'll take you, see, this is where it starts getting crazy. Again, using every single square inch. Okay, so every time anybody comes, like a workman or something, they're always like, what the heck? Okay, so these are not my original refrigerators, but this is I don't use the freezer, I only use the fridge. That's my eggs and stuff like that. This is that spare fridge that I never keep plugged in. I have a shelf. This used to be in the basement. It's now in the garage. It's boxes and cake boards and stuff like that. That's my little chest freezer. Up there is where I keep all my Tupperware and my stuff, because when I make my 4 batches of buttercream, I keep my old fondant buckets stored in there. And then these are all my cake boards I keep there. Okay, so again, it's the back of the garage, what would you use that space for anyway? I mean, we're not missing that because we have like all this stuff on this side. So anywhere you can find empty space, whether it be by decluttering or moving stuff around, do it. Maximize your space. Okay, so I'll take you into the basement. It's the last of my stuff. So you see this? This was a cabinet from, do you worry about car exhaust fumes? No, because we don't leave our cars running in the garage. We pull in and we stop. This was one of the cabinets from the kitchen we demolished. So, you know, how great. Now I have a separate cabinet to keep, you know, extra stuff in. Okay, so every square inch, right? Bottom of the stairs, another rack. So I keep inedibles, all my non-edible stuff down here. And if it is edible, like my old gluten-free stuff, which I need to get rid of actually, my watercolors, this is fondant that hasn't been opened yet. Basically non-opened, not in boxes, are the only edibles I have down here. Everything else, my airbrush. This rack is all my my pans, cupcake pans, all that stuff. This is the other rack I have that's just all cookie cutters. And then, like, I have stuff stuck in the corner. Every square inch. I'm telling you, once I started watching Periscope, I bought too much more stuff. So this basement actually had a dark room in it. So I took it over, and it's just more storage. Like my dummies, my oversized cake pans, my copy cake, stuff like that. This is an old, I think this was in my daughter's room when she was a baby. I absconded it. Yep. Just more miscellaneous stuff. And that's because I did everything desserts. So I had a lot of stuff. So that's it. Take you back around. Hold on. So that's it. That's how I maximize my space. It's all about maximizing your space. No, as a matter of fact, I don't have enough cupcake pans because there's many times, like my 300 cupcakes wedding that I did in the summer, I'd bake, and then once I would take the ones that I did first and flip them out because I didn't have enough pans. So I don't think you could ever have enough cupcake pans, especially if you do weddings. Speaking of weddings, I know, you know, some of you do and some of you don't, and some of you want to. Next week, it's all about weddings. I bet when you move, only like 10% is personal family stuff. I'll tell you, it was a huge amount of business stuff. How many trays can you bake at once? I can only bake 4 trays at once. My old house, hey Joyce, my old house, when I put in a double wall oven, and let me tell you, I miss that terribly here, but there's no place to put one. So I've gone back to a single oven, but it fits 4 trays. So that's 48 cupcakes at a time. I think I have 12 cupcake trays. 24 cupcake trays. No. Dozens. I only have one 24 cupcake pan. The rest are dozens. So 4, 1 dozen cupcake pans at a time. So then I put them on my rack, and by the time I go through all of them, I can flip those out and reuse them. Possible 200 cupcake wedding coming up on, oh yay! Yeah, next week, I'm gonna tell you how I started doing weddings, and yeah, 2 on each shelf. Yep. How I started doing weddings, what a good way to start researching, how to research, what you're looking for, what can you handle, what are you comfortable handling, and how to go about getting started. So I know it doesn't pertain to a lot of you. So if, I understand if you don't join me, but for others, please join, because I decided, a lot of my scopes, sometimes I talk about weddings, like with contracts, and I'm just going to do all in one. Do you bake the 4 trays of cupcakes? Yes, I do. Do not like convection. I haven't figured it out. It never works right for me. So I do it on regular mode. 350 for 18 to 20 minutes each. So I can go through it pretty quick. So, right. And, people who do cookies, people who do cookies don't really, it doesn't matter. You don't rotate. No, I don't need to. I've calibrated my oven and I don't need to. Really, I thought everybody does it that way. Even my cookies don't work out right that way. I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, all about weddings. And for those of you, even you cake poppers and dessert tables tune in too, because this applies to you too. Well, in my oven, luckily it was new when we moved in, and oh good, oh awesome. Oh well, let me tell you, do not bring that whole thing stacked 5 tiers. It has the directions, and if you don't have the user manual, you can look it up online. You take an oven thermometer and you set it for 350. You set it at 350, you take your oven thermometer, you stick it in the middle, and you stick it in, you jot down what the temperature is, and then you put it in, take readings every 5 minutes and move it to each corner. Take those readings, and then if it matches 350, great. If not, take an average and reset your oven to calibrate it, to get it right. Because, some run hot, some run cold. I learned an interesting trick from Johnny Uzzini on how to find out, hi Jess, how to find out where the hot spots are in your oven. If you take a sheet tray full of sweet coconut, right, you spread it out, you stick it in the oven at 350 for however long till you start smelling it, whatever. You pull it out, see where like areas are more brown than others. Then you could see where your hot spots are, and you can avoid those. Mine was new and I have the book. Yeah, definitely pull it out. Most ovens, especially ones that are electronic, you can calibrate. Yeah, that's what I'm here for. Great tips. Anything else? You're welcome. Thanks everybody for joining today. Sorry I'm all skittery and stuff. Kind of weird. I will talk to you next week about weddings. Again, if you have any, you're welcome. If you have any questions about today, you can contact me at Bella's Desserts on Facebook. Feel free to visit my website. It's got a lot of information up there. Oh, thank you guys. Oh, thank you, Jess. Yeah, and my office is, everything on the wall is stuff I absolutely love that wouldn't go in the rest of the house, like pictures of cakes and dummy cakes. So I'm surrounded by things I love while I'm working, so that's nice. Thanks, guys. I actually have to bake today. I have a frozen cake. My first frozen cake. It's not going to be typical though. Thanks, Pearl. Thanks, you guys. All right, I'll catch you this week sometime. Oh, I don't think Sydney from Sweet Fest is in here. If anybody signed up for those Sweet Fest classes, or if you're thinking about it, please do, because her first 3 lessons so far are exactly pieces of what I paid Jay to teach me. Are you going to to what? I don't know what that is. It's my first, but luckily it's just, oh, am I going to California? No. You mean for a show? No. I'm going to Boston, and I'm going to Louisiana in April, and Washington, D.C. in April, or Alexandria, Virginia in April. Oh, no, Can't afford it. That's a little too rich for my blood. I don't know why she's going all the way to California as opposed to doing it. You live in Louisiana? Are you going to Cake Fest in April? It's in Lafayette, Louisiana. Oh, cool. Good, good, good. I can't wait to meet all you guys. I can't wait to meet all you guys that are going to be there. It's going to be exciting. And you all know what I look like. I'm not going to know any of you, so be gentle. Oh, you live in Lafayette. Cool. I'm so excited for Cake Fest. I really am. I really am. I'm really excited to meet so many people that I've met through Periscope Land and stuff. So I think I'm more excited about that than anything else. Plus I love Louisiana and I love the food and all of that. So yeah, excited. All right, I'm going to go bake. Love you guys. Have a great rest of your week and a great weekend. And maybe I can stop this and maybe I can't.